Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably a pretty good saver. You're focused on planning for retirement and other big spending goals. You may have accumulated a pretty big nest egg. I've seen a lot of people over the years, and it's often the case that people who are really good savers have a really hard time turning around and pulling that money out, spending those dollars that they've accumulated for so long. Hi everybody, my name is Michael Carlson. I'm a certified financial planner with Carlson Wealth Advisors. If you'd like to learn more about me and about our firm, please click on the link below this video. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I see all the time as people retire. And that is this fear or this mental block around pulling money out of this thing that's been forbidden for so long. This nest egg that you've literally spent decades throwing money into, all of a sudden you've got to flip this switch, start pulling the money out. That can be scary for a lot of people. I want to tell you a few things you can do to start preparing for this, because at some point, you're going to get used to or get comfortable with pulling that money out of your nest egg, out of your investments in retirement. That could be right when you retire. That could be a few months after you retire. That could be 5 years after you retire that you finally become comfortable with that. I hope that you can get comfortable with it sooner than later. So here's a few tips to help you get to that point. And tip number one is to go in with a plan. You would never build a house, build a business, start a charitable organization, do anything major without first sitting down and coming up with a plan. That may be as simple as doing some calculations on the back of a napkin. That could be finding some internet calculators to help tell you what the future might look like. That could be any number of things that you do to create that plan, but that plan is essential. Once you've got that plan created, and it can change, things change over time, then you can move on to that next step. And that next step is having something to retire to. You could see this as being part of your plan, but it's really an idea of not just how are you going to spend your money, what assets do you have, what pieces of protection do you have in place, but it's really knowing what are the things that you're passionate about that you want to do after you don't have this 9 to 5 filling up all of your time. That could be any number of endeavors. It could be taking up jujitsu. It could be quilting. It could be starting another business or a charitable organization. It could be vacations. And the wonderful thing is you get to decide what that's going to be. Have something to look forward to. That's going to make that transition a whole lot simpler and also help you in the planning process to know, okay, if I want to travel the world, I'm going to need X amount of dollars this many times a year, and that's going to fill up all this time and so on and so forth. The last thing I will say, and this is where it all comes together, this ties everything up with a nice pretty bow, that is to practice ahead of time. You've probably heard before that it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert in anything. If you do the math on that, that's a few years if it's a full-time job. And so it can take some time to get used to those things. And like I said earlier, you're going to get used to retirement at some point. If you can practice some of those retirement goals before you retire, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable knowing what that looks like. So, for example, if that's vacations for you, start taking some of those bigger trips. Use the vacation time you have to say, you know what? We want to start traveling the world when we retire. We're going to retire 5 years from now. Let's start doing one big trip every year. We know that's going to cost $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is. And depending on your age and where your assets are, you might be able to pull some of those money from your nest egg even to fund those things. Of course, make sure that's viable for you. Talk to your financial advisor, do the calculations to see if that makes sense for you. Whatever those goals are that you have in retirement, maybe it's volunteering. Start volunteering now. Get to know the different organizations. See where you want to spend your time. See if that's even what you want to end up doing. You might have some goal that says, someday I'm going to do such and such when I retire. And then you start doing it and you find out, I don't really like doing this. The earlier you start doing those things, start practicing little by little what you'll be doing in retirement, more comfortable, the happier you're going to be once you get to that point. Hope this video was helpful for you. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Love to chat with you, and have a great day.